voila. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Welcome again to what's today? Wednesday, June 13th, 1 week after D-Day, the 63rd anniversary. This is Matt from Vetter Software, and I'm here to do this week's office hours to cover some of our latest updates. They're fairly self-explanatory, but it's always good to go over some of the nuances. And then I'd like to devote some time to essentially involves the record, checkout dialogue and things. The different ways in which we can add records to a patient's history in Vetter, and what I have found to be, let's say, the more efficient and expedient way to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go enlarge my screen, and let me go ahead and begin. I'm going to cover first the new accounts receivable report, the dosage calculator, and the checkout dialogue. All right. And then just cover adding records to patient history. So if we go to reports, and again, it's useful, right? With reports, everything has permissions, right? So not every employee will be able, right, to access this report. So it's important that, right, if all of a sudden maybe you can't see this or that, talk to your administrator and have them give you this permission, which can be done in staff section where it says permissions. So I'm going to go to billing, and you'll all recognize the accounts receivable report. And so this is the newer version here. And we've done a few things here. Now, first off, as a first step, and this will be, I mentioned this in my hints of the week or tip of the week, is when people send out reports to their clientele, right, there's always been a filter. Now, all we did is we moved the filter over to the left here, but there's always been a filter to determine the amount that's due. We get every month, I kid you not, we'll get a dozen very, very, very angry calls from clinics saying, how come my clients got $0 statements when they don't owe anything? Well, because you chose it. We've had this filter in here since the report feature has been available, which has been over a couple years. So please make sure that you use this filter here. If you don't want your clients to receive account statements with a $0 balance, you want to save paper and not print them all out, then just go ahead and hit right here, at least $1 type thing, okay? Now, and this is also the first step to using the rest of the report. Now the report has a filter. It knows to whom to send these statements. And I've suddenly, well, wow, okay, I have a very small sample size here. But then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and now set the date range. And let's say I wanted to email or print these statements, okay? And I'm going to choose a larger date range just to get, let's go last quarter here, just to show you more data. And I'm not going to, you have the option, of course, to include supporting and unpaid supporting invoices. And I'm going to hit print, and it's going to give me, right, it's then going to give me an option, right? A task will notify me when the printing's complete, just because this process does take some time, okay? Now, the nice thing is, and it'll assign it to me as a task, right? Now, you have 40,000 clients, right? You don't want the software devoting its time to running the report, so in the background, it's doing it. I click on my tasks, I hit view statements, and now I'll have a print preview, a PDF of what's going to go out. Okay, and we see all our statements here, right? Fred Rogers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here we go. Balance, get the idea here. Now, what I wanted to come back to on the report was also the ability to filter. Okay, and the ability to filter between email and print options. Okay, so if I go right here, right, so I have so many of them. A lot of times clinics, and most of these, unfortunately, our demo account include, right, they include credits too, and because credits are part of accounts receivable. It's a debit credit thing. But if I wanted to, what I could do is I can opt, hey, email statements to selected, right? I just pick here, 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 right? And then I can email them or I could print them. The idea being here, right? Number of clinics have client preferences. A lot of people are old school. They want printed statements, especially if they're elderly. Like my dad has a pet and he could never deal with an emailed statement. He would want it printed. This gives you the option to go ahead and do so, right? To be selective. And the idea is to save paper, right? Which also saves money. The report can also be downloaded into Excel spreadsheet style format or CSV format, which works, depends on your program, whether you're running Mac or PC, depends on what type of, if you're using Pages or you have Excel, it'll download into that. And the option to print the report. Now, that said, with statements, just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to jump to a sample client here. Let's see if I have someone here. Let's go to Homer Simpson here. And we have the option for a client, just so you're aware, to exempt them from statements, right? So I can come here, edit profile, and they could be exempted, right? Not just from statements, but also from late fees and taxes. Some people don't want statements. So these have all been clinic requests that we've done our best to add over time. They're nuanced, but they're designed to give you, I would say, the best possible service for your clientele. The other important thing about this report is, and this is more for your accountants, is we now have the ability to capture, right, accounts receivable at any time in history, in the clinic history, right? So right now, where accounts receivable had always been as of the given day, right? So it goes back 90 days, 60 days, right? 30 days from here. If I want to know, and accountants always want to know this, I want to know what was my accounts receivable status on June 1st, right? It can run that filter then. It'll change the amount due, and your accountants use this to reconcile, right, the books. And so this might not be usable by something the clinic staff's going to use, but it's available to your accountant. So very key. Filter by date due. Also, filter to exclude, right, $0 balances, okay? Also, the ability to, right, select to whom you would like to email or print statements, okay? So that is a quick overview there of this feature. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump to the dosage calculator, which is kind of fun. So if I jump back to, let's grab Santa's little helper here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a record. I'm doing it from the patient profile. And I went ahead and already prepped this item in inventory. And so I'll show you how this works. Come here, new record, and medical record. And I'm going to pick cephalexin, which I have right here. Now, you'll notice that there's this little calculator next to quantity here. It will appear on every record, but the calculator will only work if you've done the inputs in advance. So this pops up here, and I've done this, right? It will take the last available weight, 24 pounds. It will do the burdensome math for you, because only in the United States do we have such ratios as milligrams to pounds. Think about it. Metric to standard. Only we would make things so complicated. By the way, that's my plug for the metric system. And you have a dosage range, a concentration, and then the results. So let me go into explain a little bit what that is doing. Okay. I am going to briefly close this and open up cephalexin in another tab just so we can see everything that I'm doing. And voila, here we are. And good. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to reopen this. I'm going to do this again. New record, medical record, cephalexin, and dosage calculator. Please note the dose range, and concentration. You will need 2 of these 3, right, to make the total work. The third one, dose, is optional. I'll explain how this works. Okay, so in here, we added 3 new fields for every inventory, right, or prescription item. Okay, and now you will need to, unfortunately, this is an ongoing, you'll do this as an ongoing thing. You'll need to add these values to make the calculator work. Now, the concentration is just the unit of measurement, not the unit of measurement, the amount being dispensed, 250 milligrams, 250. It says so on the bottle, too. Also on the bottle is the dosage range, how much volume of the medicine to give per animal weight. And these are, as you can see, right, these are entirely configurable by you by all standard measurement options, right? Metric and standard, right? Same thing here with the concentration. Most of them will give a metric to standard ratio, right? So here, you just copy what's off the bottle. Put it in here. I looked this one up online, a bunch of vet manuals. Turns out it's 10 to 15 milligrams. The dose here is something that the doctor can input. Now, doctors with many years of experience are going to say, you know what? When I use this drug, I always give 15, or I give 12, what have you. This then will provide, essentially, this means that the calculator will then default to the doctor's selected dose range. Okay, so right here, if you notice it says 15, to say I change it to 12 because that's what the doctor wants, right? I now come to here, and if I do this again, right, I pop this up. Oh wait, I have to refresh this and do it again. So we're at 12. I come here, I refresh this, and I'll do this again. And what we'll get is oh, well, it would also help if I put in an item. And okay, now it's making me look bad. Really? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Here it is. All good. Sorry, I misread this. So we have the dose here. This changes this quantity, right? But let's just say your doctor doesn't want to do it. Now we're working off the range. It's telling you the animal needs 240 to 360 milligrams, roughly 1 to 1.5 capsules. Okay? If I use the doctor's dose range, right, it's going to change the results. So this can be done in inventory, or you can change it on the spot here. Okay? So I hope that makes sense, and hopefully designed to make everyone's life a little easier. I see a question. Does the title, oh, sorry, I missed this earlier. Does the title of the AR report and date range appear on the report when it is exported? Yes, it does. It does when you open it up. You can always, the date range, it does. You can always retitle the report right once it's exported. I see dosage question. Where do you put the number if there isn't a range on the dose? It just has one number. Okay, well, then that makes it even easier to go. Okay, so it makes it even easier. If I came to here, right, and I said the dose range is, if there is no dose range, which is true, I would just put 10 to 10 right here. So it's giving the, oops, sorry. Well, you know what? This makes it interesting. So if let me see what this does. Here we go. So I would go ahead and just for the dose range, asking that question there, I just go ahead and add one number. So in this case, then if I went back to do this, and I hope I don't have to refresh this. Yeah, I do. Sorry, I'll have to refresh this and do it again. It's just going to give the one number that you asked for. Let me double check this. New record, medical record, cephalexin, right? And we come to here, and it's just going to go ahead and give this, right? I assumed that you had to do 10 to 10, but the way the software is written, one number is sufficient, and it's just not going to give you a range, obviously. It's just going to give you a total volume. Again, always can be overridden on the spot by a doctor coming over and saying, nope, I like to give 12 or what have you. Okay, so I hope that answers the question there. And now let me check one last time for any questions. Looking good. I will now go to the checkout dialog. Okay, and pardon me here, and I'm going to make a quick appointment. And let me just, go through this very quickly. And now we're going to check them in. And I'm going to give them I'm going to give a sample medical note, and I'm going to give them a annual exam bundle. We have an invoice. Perfect. Next. Save. And give me a moment here while the software creates the bundle, does the check-in process and everything. Now, the idea here was, again, to make, and by the way, my bundles had tasks associated with them and a lab request, which is why you see these things popping up. And let's come to here. Now the patient's done. We're going to go ahead and check out. Now, we can, by the way, a few things. We can go ahead and make let's just say because of the clinic was incredibly busy, you might have accepted payment from someone because you were in such a rush, right? And you didn't have time to do the checkout. You just accepted payment from it. You wrote a note and said, well, we did this by, Visa or what have you. You can then still always go back and actually do I'm not going to get to this till, 12:30. I can change this to try to make this more flexible for clinic use. And then I go back, right, now obviously if you're using our payment processor, the Card Connect integration, you can't quite do it this way. But let's say you're not, and you're like, okay, I went ahead and I noted this payment. Well, actually, you still can. I'm sorry. You could run the credit card. You're in a big hurry, but you want to do the checkout dialog. You can always come back and do it later. But if you notice here, we've automatically defaulted the invoice and a wellness plan summary. Now, it's because only the patient was enrolled in wellness plans. Now, a number of our clinics use our wellness plans, and before, what needed to happen was, if I jump to here, and if you were on the wellness plan and you paid, and then you went to check out, clinics would have to go here and say, well, let's see, let's view the plans, right? Let's see, which plans? Oh, let me see. I thought he was on some, just a second. I thought Santa's Little Helper was on some plans. I guess he wasn't. And, I guess all these plans have been canceled. Sorry about that. I thought he was on a plan and what have you. So you know what? I just caught a bug. And I apologize for that. The idea what would happen was, let me just show you what I mean. I got to have someone here on a plan. I apologize for this. I just caught what I think to be a bug. So good that we did this. I've got to have somebody enrolled in a plan. Apparently I've canceled all the plans. Well, what used to have to happen, I'm sorry. What used to have to happen was you would have to go here and you'd have to print out the plan summary again. And it was cumbersome, right? Somebody pays, you'd have to view the plan and then print the plan summary. Now, what was designed here is that, hey, if the patient is enrolled in a plan and they've used items from the plan, instead of having to print it out, we will have the summary available at time of checkout. I just caught a bug, and I apologize for this. Well, you saw it in action. This should not have been here. But let's assume they were on a wellness plan. This would go ahead and print that summary. Now, what else it will do, it will also go ahead and add, the medical note. But an even cooler feature is this. So let me come out of here, and I'm going to go into the medical note quickly. And I'm going to add multiple letters, okay? Now, before, it used to just say print letters, and you had no idea if it was 5 letters or 1 letter or whatever letter it is. Well, let's go ahead here, and I'm just going to add a couple letters. A consent form letter, the owner's here, and now I'm going to jump back to the medical note, and I'm going to add a second letter. That was a consent form. I'll add a exam discharge letter. Okay, boom, and Homer, and now we've added multiple letters. Now notice what happens when we go to checkout. Right? I now have the option, let's just put it here. I have the option now of adding both letters. And you can have 10 letters here and it'll tell you which ones they are. Okay? So let's just say I want to add the medical note. I want to add the letters, right? Also, we no longer call it reminders certificate because it's not really a certificate. Just the reminder summary report, is here. No wellness plan in this case. And the other thing is this. Notice if we add a rabies certificate, it is now going to do a forcing function. It's requiring us to add a rabies tag. If it's forgotten, if I added the rabies tag at the time of creating time of editing the record, so if I jump back here to the medical note, and I take a look at what we're doing in here, and I will see, okay, I've got rabies right here. If I go ahead and add, if I go ahead and edit the record, and I add a tag number, that tag number is now going to appear in the checkout window. But if I had forgotten to add a tag number, and many clinics have asked for this. They said, we would like a reminder or a forcing function to add this tag number. Then the software is going to remind you and say, hey, man, we need a tag number. And if I try to check out, it's going to come up in red and say, well, payment type, but here's a big deal. Now, what you can do is as follows, because we've already had some clinics call us and say, we don't add tag numbers, even though that's kind of required to do that. You can just come here, and hit a space or put a 1 next to it or an asterisk or what have you. We built this as a kind of fail-safe there, to go ahead and be able to check out. Now, the other nice thing is if I add the tag number now, if I add the rabies tag number now, 5678, it will now add it, or 56788, it will now add it in the patient record. So if I now go to check out, let's just do a print. I've done this, I check out. So now Vetter's done that rabies tag work for you, is the idea. Okay. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to stop here. I refresh this. So here's our rabies certificate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Notice the tag number has been entered. That's the idea, to make your life a little easier. Some clinics didn't want this. Just hit the space bar and check out, The reminder summary report, the paid invoice, the exam discharge letter, the consent, a medical note, and I think we also had I guess I only checked one. I didn't check both letters. And then we have the medical note here too. Something else you might notice in the checkout dialog is we went ahead and also eliminated the receipt because the receipt was redundant. It was superfluous, didn't need one if they had a paid invoice. So I'm going to pause right here and see if there's any questions. No? Okay, good. So hopefully that feature will make everyone's life more simple. This is also available, the checkout feature, right, is also available directly from the clinic census. It all depends on which process you prefer to use. Now, that brings us to my last thing, but also related, is how to best enter patient records. You can enter, right, records or charges 3 ways in Vetter, okay? And let's just make another appointment for example's sake. Okay, pardon me here. Let's go. I'm feeling like a football fan today. Let's go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Let's go here. And let's do this. I hit save. And I'm going to go ahead and check them in with a medical note and a bundle. And voila, we have this. Now, you can enter to repeat. You can enter, let me finish that thought, records in 3 ways, or charges. Got a lot of associated tasks with that. It's either from the medical note or from the patient screen or from billing when creating an invoice. Now, there's a difference between this in terms of how the product flows and what's easier to use. If I jump to the medical note now and I look at the records or the charges, what are we doing today, right? I can delete. I can edit or delete, right, any of the items that are already in the bundle that are here. I can also add more records, right? I can add another charge. Hey, let's add I don't know, let's add another lab. Let's add an Abaxis lab here. Boom, right? And now the nice thing is it will be associated with this medical note. I don't need another callback task here. And I add it to the medical note, and now it simultaneously will update the patient record. And where's our Abaxis? It's right here. Okay, so if I go to the patient record now, it's going to update it here. Okay, and where's my Abaxis lab? Here it is, Canine Wellness. Now, this to me is the best way to do it because, right, it's going to let me know what the reference is, what the medical note is, same invoice, same medical note. Okay, this is in a perfect world the way records should be added. Also, I can add new vitals. Let's just say, even though my medical note, let's just say has 4 vitals, right? I can add up to 16 vitals. And actually it's more now, but that's, so number's a little higher. But anyhow, I come to here and I say new vital. Now I want this then to be part of the medical record. Let's say blood pressure. Sorry, I'm not a veterinarian. I hope this number is good. I hit save and done. Now, while it will not show on the medical note right here, it will still show in the patient history. If I refresh this, right, and I look at, right, if I do a simple and overall view of all patient history here, okay, here's blood pressure, and it is connected to the medical note. And if I then go ahead and dial a little deeper into all the vitals, let's look at blood pressure, right? And again, associated with the medical note. This is, again, repeat the desired way. This is how we thought this out, how we wanted everything tied to the note, tie it to the note. Now, I also have the option of adding charges directly from the patient screen. Now, I come to here, right, I can add a new vital right here. Now, if I add this vital, though, Let's add blood pressure here. Let's say 57. It will no longer be associated with the medical note. I mean, I could write in here, right? See note from, June 13th, but it's not as neat as I like to say, right? So now notice that reference has changed. I could also come here and add another charge. Okay. I don't know. Let's say it's amoxicillin here. Just grabbing here. And I can go ahead and do this. Now, here's a key thing. With the record, though, we've given you the option, hey, let's add it to a medical note. Most clinics, most people use the software just because it's a speed thing. I get it. You want to have less clicks. They'll just hit save and done. If I hit save and done, right, and I miss this little step here, it'll be part of the patient record, but it won't be a nice, neat fit in terms of reference. And who knows, maybe 6 months from now, you look at this, the doctor does, and go, why did I give him this amoxicillin? Is it tied to this note? Is it tied to this exam? I'm not certain. The goal there is, right, in a perfect world, is to connect it to a medical note. Good thing is I can still always come back and edit this and say, voila, now we know it's all part of the same note. Now, the same thing goes for anything else I add here, right? If I add a diagnosis from here, right, I can also now add this to a medical note. I can add that diagnosis right from the medical note itself, right here, diagnosis, add, right, it'll be part of that note. If I want to do it from the patient screen, again, I stress the need or the desire or the willingness, or I stress the importance of adding this to, right, a same note. Now, what we are doing is with some of you might be saying, well, Matt, how come you don't have that for vitals? Good question. Because soon you will see the next overhaul of vitals where we're going to basically break these down into diagnostic tests and vitals history, where they're going to have trending results viewable in the patient record. It'll be a really nice feature. And it will also include the ability to add it to the medical note. But as it stands right now, that feature isn't available. So I'm going to pause for a moment and see if there's any questions. Hopefully good. I'm still here we go. We do not use the calendar for appointment scheduling. When we have to use the calendar to get a callback reminder list. No, you do not. But then I see a yes. I guess, was that yes to my answer? Okay, I hope so. Karen, let me go ahead and show you how to do this. Callback reminders are not associated with the schedule. They are associated with the item itself and inventory. If I jump to inventory here, for example, oops, I didn't mean to do that. If I jump to inventory here, and I'll pick up, I don't know, right here, cephalexin. I just see it right here. And I want a callback associated with any item. Let's be more relevant. Let me take a lab test, okay? That's more useful, okay? Here we go. Chem CBC. And I come to actions. And I go ahead and I hit, I'm going to make sure there's no actions available. I hit new action. And I'm going to come here and I want a callback. I'm going to say create task, right? I'm going to assign it to an individual or a group. It just happens to be two of us in this account. But yours would probably say staff, technician, receptionist, and what have you, all the names. And callback client with results. I could choose to update any bundles this is in. I'm not going to update that right now. And now it's saved. Now, if I jump back, that was adult chem CBC. If I jump back to our patient, Karen, what you'll see is I can add charges directly from here. I can create this is my next part of the example was, I don't want to check them in through the scheduler. Now, that also means you can't use the checkout feature, okay? But that's okay. I just want to make people aware. If you don't check them in through the schedule, you can't check them out through the schedule. And it also won't work with the census. But here's the next step, and Karen, your question was a perfect lead-in. Let's just say I don't want to use the scheduler. Let's just say I want to, it's my mom's cat coming in after hours. I'm not going to schedule them. Or I have a different process or clinic flow. I can come to the patient screen and say, let's do it this way. New medical note, right? I'm taking the same example here. And I can put a complaint in here, provider, I hit save. Now I'm in this medical note, and now I can go ahead and add bundles again, right? Here's a bundle. I can add a charge, which is, I hope this was the adult chem, I believe. Here we go. Right, and I go ahead and add this. Notice right here, Karen, there's the task. It'll create that task reminder for me. Now, I'm going to have to add a provider here. I could, add other things. I hit save and done. Right, and now it's assigned a whole new task for me. You saw the tasks flash up there. I really should, complete my task someday. And I come to here, and I look here, 4 new tasks assigned to me. I click on them, and I have a bunch assigned, but here was the one. Here's the right here. Adult chem, callback client with results 2 days from now. So I hope that answered your question, Karen. And the other thing about this is it's also, let me close this one. Let me go back to Niner Garoppolo. This is the other way that you can add records, right? We showed you how to do it from the medical note. You can also do them from the patient history. Again, if you do it this way, though, yet you won't be able, you will not be able to use the checkout feature. Now, let me do this here. If I come here and let me see, where was I? I'm sorry. I was in, here, let me go to this. Yeah, this was the new medical note I think I created. Sorry, let me come to this. And yeah, this went ahead and had one record here. You know what? I put these on the same invoice. I should have put them on a separate invoice. That's my mistake right there. Yeah, so let me go ahead and add a new record here. So if you're not using the checkout feature, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and then go directly to billing to check them out. Okay, so I don't know. Let's say we have 100 capsules here. We're going to hit new invoice. I should have done that earlier. I hit save and done, and now we've added a new invoice. So now if you're not using the scheduler, and this is the third and final way to add records, is you come directly to here. And now I'm in the billing module. I clicked on the invoice directly. I can also, just go ahead and click on, the invoice here. Now, many clinics, as a shortcut, will go to billing to add the charges and create the invoice. And a lot of people who are mobile will go out and do that. But I really stress, do things from the medical note, do things from the patient record, right? You don't need to use the scheduler, but you can still create the medical note and the records from the patient screen because it ties everything together nice and neat, right? And so now if I check them out, I can collect payments, but it's not a complete checkout. We notice there's no ability here to add any documents. We had intended, Vetter's goal was that billing would be used as a place to monitor estimates, payments, returns, credits, refunds, write-offs, etc. We had not intended it to be used as a checkout feature. We figured if you check in a clinic, right? Come in the beginning, from the schedule, you check out from the front too. And we figured that's how a clinic flow would work. We realized, though, people have different processes. And this brings us to the final one. Hey, let's go ahead and add a charge. And a lot of times people in the front, let's just say, even if this is like invoice 3710, this had all been done through the, right? This had all been done through the patient file, right? The patient screen, the medical note. And let's say up at the very front, somebody wants to go ahead and add another item, right? You can absolutely still do this, right? Not a problem. But notice it gives us this other option here to add to a medical note. Like, let's say, oh yeah, I want to buy some heart guard too. Okay, great. Here we go. Please encourage your staff to add it to the medical note. Again, just tying records together more cleanly. You don't have to do this. Maybe somebody just comes in right after hours and is there just to pick up medicine, right? And there's no medical note that's tied to it. You can, right, you can do that, right? I can just come to here, somebody just comes in for pickup, right? Goes ahead and new invoice, right? The Warriors just won a title. I'm going to show off my berry of pride here. Let's go Klay Thompson and the Warriors. And I can tie this still to a medical note, right? So, hey, is this from the medical note? Is this from when you saw the doctor? Well, in this case, 2 months ago, but it might be 2 days ago. Yes, I really encourage this. Most clinics, though, right, everybody's in a hurry. They go past this. They don't check it in they don't tie it to a medical note. And then they go ahead and add an item. And again, right, I still have that option. One last kind of try here. One last bite at the apple. Hey, right here. In this case, I didn't have, for him, I'm sorry, Klay Thompson, I didn't have any medical notes. Sorry, unfortunately for him. But if I did, I could tie it to a medical note. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just always encouraging that for neat reference, neat record keeping. It's just kind of how my mind works. But you can add the charges the third and final way this way. To sum it up, right, you can add them through the medical note, you can add them through the patient profile screen, or you can just create a charge, right, after hours, right, or somebody's coming in just to pick something up from the billing module. But again, when we check somebody out from the billing module, okay, and I think Karen was asking that, and I come here, right, I can collect payment. That's not a problem. But I don't have the option to add all the other checkout documents. I would have to email those separately, right? You can email the certificate, the note, the letters, all of them separately. We're just trying to save clicks. So if I know my veterinarians properly, the next thing you're saying in your mind, well, gee, Matt, why hasn't Vetter added the same checkout dialogue to billing? Well, we originally, again, we wanted to force people into using the other route, right? Medical note and patient screen. We've realized that might very well be a losing battle trying to change ingrained behavior. So later in the year, that same checkout dialogue will be available here in billing. But again, then, right, I don't have the ability to add, diagnoses or add new vitals. Again, if you talk to your staff, you have a chance to retrain, or maybe once a week you have a half hour, open forum for staff where you're trying to promote best practices. Please encourage everything to be done through the note, the medical note, or the patient profile screen. Reserve billing module charges for, pick up after work, or, it's for my mom's cat and I just want to get through this very quickly. And if you are going to use this, right, please try to tie everything to a medical note. It just makes everything neater. I hope that all made sense. I'm checking for any more questions. If anybody wants to unmute the mic, please feel free to do so. But that is my overview and my preaching to do things through the patient screen, and the medical note. Okay. And again, I said it has positive cascading effects downstream. The other thing about checking people in through here, right? If we check them in and add records through here, the other nice thing that it does, right? It enables us, right? There's an invoice now, which means that this will yield results for the appointments referral source summary report and appointments by type summary report. And these are two valuable reports, right? You track your referral sources and sales by appointment, right? Those reports don't work if you don't use that part of the software. But anyhow, I hope that this was helpful. I know it's a deep dive. It will be recorded, but these are things that I think will make everyone's life a little easier. With that said, I wish you all a great rest of the day. The recording will be posted on the community later today. And go Warriors. All right. Take care. And thank you, Karen, and have a nice day. Bye-bye, everyone.